first variance is no, just 25 feet. Get the boy, you're flashing. Here you go, sir.
How do we have to do that? You guys do it.
We ready? All right. We'll now call the 2019 Thursday, August 22nd, Madison County Board of Justice meeting to order. Call the roll, please.
Angie Barnes,
Present.
Valerie Hines,
Here.
Chris Cooper,
Here.
Jimmy Rogers.
Here.
Ralph Hall.
Here. All right. First thing we'll do is go over the minutes. Has everybody looked at the minutes from the last meeting?
I move to approve. Second.
I have a motion and a second.
Discussion. Vote.
Let's vote.
You guys good?
Chris Cooper,
Yes.
Jimmy Rogers.
Yes.
Angie Barnes,
Yes.
Valerie Hines,
Yes.
Ralph Hall.
Yes. All right. Right before we get started, if anybody have your cell phones, you go ahead and turn them down and silent them, please. All right. The first thing we got is a dimensional variance for 5120 Battlefield Memorial Highway. Looks like the applicants is a James and Virginia Lovins. Are they here?
Good evening. I'm Jerry Gilbert representing the Lovinses on this application for dimensional variance. Just recently, they appeared before the Planning and Zoning Commission on Tuesday, and the zoning classification was changed to commercial. They have a contract with Dollar General to put in a Dollar General store there. We are seeking a dimensional variance of the setback line from 125 feet to 100 feet. We've submitted a plat, and we have Will Stevens, who is an engineer, is here to talk about the specifics of the plat.
Still have a copy of that plan?
Yes, we do. Yeah, it says not to scale on it. But yes. Can you state your name, please, sir?
I'm Will Stevens.
Okay.
I'm with Vantage Engineering, 2038 Danville Road, Harrodsburg, Kentucky.
Do you agree to give us truthful and accurate information as it pertains to this case?
I do.
Okay, go ahead, sir.
So as he said, we had originally asked for 3 variances. Of 2 of them, I was just informed will be handled at the development plan stage because they're not applicable to Board of Adjustments. But the one that we are still asking for is a reduction in the building setback line from 125 feet to 100. And if you guys look, I don't know what you have. You just have a plat.
Yes.
Okay, so you don't have anything with the building on it.
No.
Can I
Site plan.
give them this?
Sure, yeah.
Okay. This. So what she's passing around may make more sense. The impetus for the setback reduction is simply that the building layout won't fit. We would need a lot more land, and it would cause a lot of issues with our site layout to move it back to the 125-foot setback. And, we also feel like 100 feet is reasonable because the only other structure nearby is the house, which is also closer than 100 feet to the road. So we don't feel like we would be an eyesore by being closer than other structures.
Marty, have you had any calls or anything?
Just inquiring about
What's going on? Gotcha. Okay.
Yeah, there's actually been a zone change on the property, zone change sign for a couple of weeks. This was posted a week ago, and letters were sent out to the surrounding property owners.
Okay. All right. All right. Go ahead and questions. Please. there anybody else here to speak on the dimensional variance?
Thank you.
Thanks, sir. Here's your plat back. And if we don't have any more discussion, I need a motion, a second.
I have a question. Will the application have to be amended because the two other variances are omitted or not? Okay. Okay.
No.
I just thought that.
We'll take care of that when we type up the paperwork on the variance.
So I'd like to make a motion that we approve the variance for 100 feet setback, 725 feet setback.
Is it
Approve
25
the
feet?
variance of 25 feet. to
Right.
Reduce the setback to 100 feet from
Yes.
125.
Sorry.
Where's the?
The 25.
All right, is there a second?
Second.
All right, I have a motion, I have a second. Call the roll.
Angie Barnes,
Yes.
Valerie Himes,
Yes.
Chris Cooper,
Yes.
Jimmy Rogers.
Yes.
Ralph Allen.
Yes. All righty, thanks, sir. All right, next on the agenda, we have a conditional use permit for 104 Pine Grove Road, which we have a Lee Ann Marshall.
Yes, Mr. Marshall is here. You come up, Mr. Marshall.
Mr. Marshall, if you'll come up, state your name, your address for us.
Lee Marshall, 104 Pine Grove Road,
Okay.
Richmond.
Do you agree to give us truthful and accurate information as it pertains to this case?
Yeah.
All right, go ahead, sir. Tell us what you're wanting to do.
Okay. I'd built a garage and I was wanting to work out of it, start a business, not a high volume business, just a kind of a boutique, kind of large job business, things like engine replacements, things like that. So there's not going to be a lot of traffic there.
Okay, on that, if y'all want to
But
take a look.
if I could, Mr. Chairman, I've been to the property, I've been to the building, I did the building inspection.
Mhm.
It's not a large building. It's, what size is it?
It's 30 by 30.
30 by 30.
Gotcha.
It's big enough for me to work out of. I'm not going to have
And
other.
it's not showing here. It's not attached to your house or anything. It's,
No.
It's, okay.
It's directly, if you're looking at the picture to the right, where we're looking at it, to the right,
Mhm.
towards the fence.
Okay.
Right in.
Right in there, Mark?
Yes.
Yeah.
Right there.
And does the entryway, I guess, come from the?
Yes.
All right.
When you say low volume, can you give us an idea of maybe how many cars might be parked there at any time that you'd be working on?
Ideally, the most would be one car outside, if absolutely necessary, but I don't even plan on that because, like I said, I want to be a small volume. I don't, if you want your oil changed, go somewhere else. I hurt my shoulder doing this work, and I've done it for 14 years, and I can't do the pace that I used to, so I have to do slower things. But and the only way I can make that work is to do bigger jobs.
Would all of your tools and materials be inside? Would they be visible outside?
No, there's no.
Everything would be inside?
Yes, everything would be inside. There's no windows or anything like that to the inside of the building.
So, sir, you wouldn't have any cars like waiting to be worked on, several cars out front, or?
No, I don't want to trash up the neighborhood, you
That's
know what I'm
that's
saying?
What about hours of operation?
Currently, I am a stay-at-home dad about 2 or 3 days a week, so it would probably, most cases like Thursday, Friday, maybe Saturday morning, something like that. But for the foreseeable future, it'll be 8 to 5, Thursday through Saturday.
Well, the board is asking you what you want your hours to be, I guess, in a roundabout way, is, you kind of predict the future too.
Okay, well,
So
I mean, I would
you're
like
gonna
to
be
work.
Monday through Friday, 8 to 5 or whatever.
Well, yeah, that's what that would be ideal, yes. The 8 to 5, Monday through Friday.
You don't need the weekend?
No.
Currently, I thought you said you were maybe doing some Saturdays or?
If it was absolutely necessary, but with family, baby, things like that, that's not really worth it.
So it's strictly by appointment only?
I'm sorry.
By appointment only?
Yes, I won't be taking any walk-ins, I guess you would say.
What about signage?
Word of mouth would be good enough for me. I don't
So you're
really,
not
I
gonna
don't
put
want
a-
any signs
You're
out
not gonna
there.
hang your shingle out there?
No. Well, I mean, nobody pays attention to the sign anymore anyway. Facebook and things like that is where people get their information.
You're basically doing engine work, is that correct?
I would say major automotive work. The engines mostly, transmission replacements.
Not body, not painting?
No,
stuff like
no,
that?
no.
Gotcha. Perfect.
I pity the man that does body work.
If you replace an engine, what will we do with the old engine?
Hopefully the customer will take it with them and
Okay,
dispose
you're
of
not
it
gonna have
properly.
any old parts there?
No.
Left over, anything like that?
Yeah, if I
Well, that
do,
would-
honestly.
That would really mess up in front there, 'cause it's pretty area right there.
Yeah, that's, I mean.
Got a church there next door too, so.
And most of them are wanting to be customers, actually. And, but if I do have something, I mean, it's nothing to put it in the back of the truck and take to the scrapyard.
All right. Is there anyone else here to speak on the conditional use permit at 104 Pine Grove Road? All right.
And one call, it was from somebody representing the church. They were concerned about the things that you just asked. You know, they don't want to, but they keep in mind if it was more than 2 cars, but they, you know, they didn't want an eyesore there, so I think you all addressed the concern.
Gotcha. All righty. Any other questions? Thanks, sir. All righty. If no other discussion, can I get a motion?
I'll make a motion that we approve the conditional use permit for 104 Pine Grove Road in Richmond. It will permit the operation of automotive repair on the property. The hours of operation will be Monday through Friday, 8 to 5, Saturday, 8 to noon. Most of the work to be done by appointment. All work and storage will be done inside the building. There'll be no signage, no more than 3 cars other than personal cars parked outside, and no storage of old parts or old vehicles on the premises.
Do we have a second?
Second.
Call the roll, please.
I'm over.
We got it for you right here, Mark.
You got it up there, okay. Okay.
Chris Cooper,
Yes.
Jimmy Rogers.
Yes.
Valerie Hines,
Yes.
Angie Bowers,
Yes.
Ralph Alder.
Yes. All right, we're good. Mr. Marshall, you're good to go? Okay, Mr.
You know, I'll check with him.
Yep. All right. Next on the agenda, I have a conditional use permit for 1560 Roberts Hill Drive. Have a Martha Van Aswegen.
Can I give you guys some packets?
Some packets. I think they, if it's, is it this?
No, it's.
No, something else? Sure. It's Martha.
Yes, she did.
All right.
Okay.
Martha, can you come up, please?
Yeah.
Okay, thank you very much. I just need Martha to state your name, your residence, okay?
Martha van Aswegen, 1560 Roberts Hill Drive, Richmond.
Okay, and ma'am, you are,
I'm Tracy Coetzee,
Uh-huh.
and 3685 Horseman Trail, and I'll be talking on behalf of Ms. van Aswegen.
okay, do you agree to give truthful and accurate information as it pertains to this case?
Yes, sir.
All right, thank you. Please proceed.
Okay, so just to give you an overview, Ms. van Aswegen purchased and moved into 1560 Roberts Hill Drive, Richmond during September 2016. At the time, because she was under the impression it was a rural neighborhood and was unaware that having a business sitting dogs would be an issue, since there are currently several small businesses in the area. Ms. van Aswegen has looked after dogs for the last 3 years with no issue until her barn was delivered. Her neighbor, Mr. Weatherford, tried to do a cease and desist at the time, based on what I'm not sure, since there are several properties in the area that have barns. A week after that, he tried to cut Ms. van Aswegen's grass, which did seem a little odd. He's also been seen on a property multiple times, not invited, when they were putting the building up and as the contract was what they were doing. He has assumed, and you will see
I can't
in...
hear real easily. Could you
Sorry.
You need-
go for the microphone, please?
Oh,
I
okay.
can't hear her either.
You-
Just
no.
suspend, okay.
Is it
I
over?
think the
There we
accent
go.
might have a little something
Yeah.
to do with it too.
Oh,
Maybe
the
slow- maybe
accent,
slow down a
I'll
little
just
bit.
slow it
Slow
down.
it down.
Okay. All right, so basically, so at this point now, the barn was coming in and the neighbor was asking the contractors what was happening. You do have an email there from Mr. Weatherford where he assumed that Ms. Van Aswegen is wanting to expand her business, which is not the case at all. The reason for the barn is to give the dogs shelter during the hot days and the cold days, that they can be kept cool or warm, obviously depending on the need. This is instead of having them run around in Ms. Van Aswegen's house. Ms. Van Aswegen has no desire or need to increase the number of dogs she sits. Currently, on average, she will have 4 to 10 dogs on any given day, depending on the time of the year. Some dogs are dropped off and are only picked up 2 weeks later, depending on the occasion. On major holidays, Ms. Van Aswegen could have up to 25 dogs, but keep in mind that some of these dogs are under 10 pounds. Ms. Van Aswegen has 16 cameras around her property and is constantly monitoring the dogs. She does not just leave the dogs to sit and bark all day. There will be times when they will bark, as dogs do, but it's not something she just ignores. It seems that there is a concern of possible increased traffic. Not sure why having a barn should change the traffic pattern, but we'll entertain the idea. On a normal day, there might be 3 to 4 vehicles, and not all these vehicles return to collect the dogs on the same day. Dog drop-offs are normally any time after 8 a.m. and before 7 p.m. and are by appointment only. For the most part, it does happen during the late morning and afternoon. Ms. Van Aswegen is willing to work with the neighbors if it is an issue that vehicles are using the rest of the road and turning around in the cul-de-sac at the end of the road, which happens to be in front of Mr. Weatherford's house. She will gladly let her clients know not to turn around up there, but to rather turn in her drive. Ms. Van Aswegen takes care of these dogs because it is her passion and her love. She is unmarried, has no children, and these dogs are like her adopted family. She has no desire to turn it into a big business and lose the close connection she has with her clients and the dogs. For most clients where she is located, it is definitely not easy access. But they love that Ms. Van Aswegen loves their dogs as her own and is always aware of where they are and what they are doing and are not left alone to their own devices. When Ms. Van Aswegen needs to go out and run an errand, she brings all the dogs inside so that they are safe and cannot disturb anyone. It seems that Mr. Weatherford, who is the neighbor next door, has had the complaint. His house does sit quite a distance from where the barn is. So I don't know if we have an overview. Yes, we do. Okay.
Yeah, the barn's not shown on here, but,
Right.
let me zoom in a little bit, you can kind of explain where the barn is in relation to the house.
Okay. He did send out an initial email. Oh, okay. So the barn is kind of where that tree line, Marlies?
It's for.
Here,
Okay.
You got the folks up there? All right. Go ahead, Mark.
It is right in here, isn't it?
Correct. Yeah.
Closer to the fence,
Closer in here.
to the left, there you go.
Right in here.
Closer there?
Yeah.
Okay. So now let's go back on ours.
Okay.
That's to the left.
So the initial email that was sent out to all neighbors by Mr. Weatherford, excluding Ms. Van Aswegen, was to let them know his thoughts on her dog-sitting business. He has assumed the barn is to allow her to have more dogs without finding out the facts. Ms. Van Aswegen then sent her email to the neighbors introducing herself and giving them her side. It is noted that Mr. Weatherford received this email from a neighbor and took it upon himself to reply to an email that was not intended for him, once again excluding Ms. Van Aswegen. And you do have copies of that email. He had put a mail tracking on this email. Although it's not illegal, it is unethical in a case like this, which is how I ended up getting a copy of his email. Mr. Weatherford was also very quick to say Ms. Van Aswegen doesn't pay taxes, but omitted the fact that she's paid all federal, state, and property tax. She will check if she's liable for county tax, since she did run at a loss for the previous year. She depends on her accountant to inform her of any taxes that need to be paid. Our thought is as well, by putting that in his initial email, it riles people up, which is the effect that he wants to get.
So what we're gonna do, we're gonna stay on task first. I wanna
Sure.
just get one thing. What you're requesting is a conditional use permit for canine safari, dog walking, and pet setting,
That is
correct?
correct,
Okay,
yes.
that's, I wanna make sure we understand that's what we're here for, okay?
Okay, which is perfect, yes.
Second thing
Can
is,
you just also let the board know what you're, you're not the applicant, so they need to know, are you just representing her? Do you have some kind of stake in the
I do not have a
business?
stake
Are
in
you
the
just here
game.
to help her
I am just
and
her,
represent her?
correct,
Okay.
correct.
And I'm sorry, I didn't catch your name, it went really fast.
Okay, it's
And then
Tracy
again-
Kutsia, Coetzee.
okay. Do you or Martha know, first of all, is there a homeowners association, anything, bylaws in this neighborhood, first of all?
I did have a look if there was a homeowners association, and I could not pick anything up.
All right.
If you're gonna get testimony, you gotta be at the microphone, or we can't hear it when you do this.
Okay, so if there's no, if you don't have anything in writing and it's not signed off and by law, then it don't exist.
Correct.
Okay, so the second thing is we have the deed of the property, and I was looking and, guys, I'm not seeing any restrictions, are you all?
No.
All right, so I don't see any restrictions, Marty, on this property. So, what you're wanting to do is get a conditional use permit, go through the proper way for
Correct.
this, okay?
Right,
Correct?
to continue, yep, to do her dog sitting.
Okay.
And as I've mentioned, she is prepared to compromise, you know, with anything that needs to be done to make it easier for the neighbors. Again, if the one or two cars that are coming up the road is an issue because it is making the turnaround, she's quite happy to address that. Any other compromises that would need to be made.
Okay. So, Marty, you know how big that building is?
How big's your building, Martha?
It's about 800 square feet downstairs.
40 by 40? 40 by 40?
Two floors.
2 floors.
40 by
40 by 20?
20.
40 by,
20.
okay.
And there are photographs included in your packet of the barn. And as I said, that is for the sole use of bringing the dogs in during the extreme weather.
Okay. Now, all right.
We all know what it's like to have two dogs in your house, never mind.
How many dogs will you handle at one time?
So it depends, because again, any given day you can have 4 to 10 dogs, but some of those dogs are there for a number of weeks. Major holidays, it can go up to 25 dogs.
14 to 25 then?
Correct.
What's a minimum, 14? You have it all, at all times?
What would you say your minimum would be at all times? Probably,
Could be 2,
Could be 2, because people
Right.
come in and out picking up.
it just depends.
Just depends.
Right. And as I said, I mean, not all of the dogs are 100-pound dogs. You know, some of them are teeny weeny little
Something
10
like a
pounds.
child care, right?
Correct, exactly. Comes in all different shapes and sizes.
What about noise? Barking?
So again,
How far away from your nearest neighbor?
I beg your pardon?
How close is your nearest neighbor
Yep.
as far as noise is concerned?
So on your, I'm not sure what the distances are in between.
1550, Bert, can you go 1550 from somebody in the audience sit right around this tree line right here? So we go with that tree, is there a fence line here? 'Cause it looks like that house is gonna be closer than what's down here, if I'm correct. One across the street is,
That's me, across the street.
Okay.
I'm the closest.
you're the closest? Okay.
And dogs barking, I mean,
587.
dogs do bark, even if you have your own,
587. Let's see this one.
even if you have your own household dog, it is gonna bark at times. But as I've
21,
mentioned, having the
okay.
16 cameras, Marlies is on top of it to make sure that they don't sit and bark all day.
220 feet. Gotcha. And you previously stated they're not outside at all times?
Correct.
Gotcha. Gotcha.
They are never left unattended.
All right. All right. Thank you. At this time, we'll let others that want to speak
Sure.
on this behalf. All right. Again, I'll remind the audience, this is a conditional use permit request for a canine safari, dog walking, and pet sitting. So if there's anybody here that want to speak for or against this, raise your hand, and, there's a bunch of hands, right? All right. Let's start in the front and work our way back. How about that? You'll have to come forward, maybe have a seat.
My name is Greg Kilcoyne. I'm at the very end of the lot there.
Okay, sir. Do you agree to give a truthful and accurate information as it pertains to this case?
Yes, I do.
Thanks, sir. Please proceed.
Since she's been there, I have had no issues at all. There's, I don't hear any dogs.
Can you say again which lot you're at? I didn't hear what you said.
I'm right here at the end of the road. There's a big circle driveway there.
Oh,
Come on down. 1580.
Right there.
Ask him to get a little closer.
1580. I'm right there.
There
The
you
big
go.
circle driveway is my driveway.
right here.
I hear more noise from across me. They got a dog up there in the barn that barks all the time. And her dogs, I haven't hardly heard at all. I mean, there's really no issue out there.
Okay. Thanks, sir. All right. So he's said he's for this. I'm sure there's other people that agree with what he's saying. So if there's not anybody else that agrees with this, if there's somebody that doesn't agree, you can come up. That way we can give your point and we can drive on. Yes, ma'am. Please state your name and residence, please.
Melanie Aldridge, 1051 Clara Court, which is just off of Roberts Hill.
So you're not on this road, ma'am?
I am not directly on Roberts Hill.
It's clear right here.
Clara, yes, that's Clara Court. I'm on Clara Court.
Okay.
That curve right there, we have a gravel road.
Yes, ma'am.
I've lived in the neighborhood for 20 years as of this past June. Couple of things I need to make clear real quick. You were asking about a neighborhood association. I am secretary of the neighborhood association. I am not here representing the neighborhood association. The neighborhood association is not taking a stand on this.
Okay.
But I want to explain to you about our neighborhood association.
Do you have bylaws?
We do have bylaws. We do not have the kind of restrictive covenants that many people are familiar with.
Okay.
We are a voluntary neighborhood association. We are not a mandatory.
Okay.
As of right now, we have 6 board members and 3 or 4 other households that are members of the neighborhood association.
Okay.
So the majority of the neighbors have chosen not to participate for whatever reason.
So can you please verify again that you don't have anything in writing and that's lawfully abiding as a homeowners association's bylaws, correct?
We do have bylaws. They are not that extensive. This neighborhood association was started back in the
But if it's
80s or
voluntary-
so.
But if it's
It's a voluntary neighborhood association. It is not mandatory, as I said, in the sense that many people are familiar with.
Okay.
There are deed restrictions on most of our deeds. I have not specifically looked at hers.
There's not.
And they do, the first one on them says that no businesses without the approval of River Heights, Inc., and I can't remember what the other one is. I didn't bring a copy of a deed with me tonight. River Heights, as far as I know, no longer exists. That was a Louis Panur development, and he's been gone for quite a number of years, I believe. So I am here as an individual tonight to express my concerns.
Sure, please.
It has been said that we do have other businesses in the neighborhood, and we do. They are what's considered home occupations under the land use regulations. They are permitted uses, and as y'all know from being familiar with the comprehensive plan and the land use regulations, there are permitted uses, there are conditional uses. And from what I can tell from my reading of the regulations, this wouldn't be considered a home occupation, and this actually wouldn't even really be considered a conditional use from what I'm looking at in the chart on the land use regs. We are zoned R1. Also, under the comprehensive plan, this type of business is not suitable for our neighborhood, as are a number of other businesses not suitable for our neighborhood, because the county has not envisioned growth in this area of the neighborhood in terms of businesses. We're not even on the radar, as far as I know, in the comprehensive plan in terms of future plans. The growth in our area, the vision has been, to my knowledge, around the I-75 corridor, the exit 97, exit 95, those areas. I think there is a rural corridor out our way, but it is 627. It is not Simpson Lane. So those are some of my concerns, the precedent that this would set. I have personally, over the last year or so, noticed an increase in traffic on Roberts Hill. And if you've ever driven out there, Roberts Hill is literally a lane and a half. You have to get off the road if someone's coming. I learned a long time ago, at the end of Roberts Hill, or near the front end of Roberts Hill, one of our neighbors has a fair-sized driveway. I watch for the glint of sun on cars all the way down to where Clara Court is. And I watch for headlights. And if I see any of that come in my direction when I'm coming in, I just pull off into the Browns' driveway and sit until the car passes me, because the road is not, it's just not made for two vehicles. And there are a couple of areas that if you pull off the side, if you're not familiar with the road, there's a couple of holes that you'll drop off into. Not big holes, but holes enough to do some damage to your rim. So I believe that with the comprehensive plan and in looking at that, that even a conditional use is really outside of what the scope of our neighborhood is. A number of us have lived there for 15, 20, 25 years. We bought out there just like she did for the peace and quiet and for having space. I'm sorry that there was not an understanding that it's a residential and zoned that way. I'm sorry there's been an investment made to the extent there has been. No one's asking for the structure to be taken down, or at least not that I'm aware of.
Ma'am, the conditional use permit has nothing to do with the structure of the building.
Right.
So that's, she can put up there and store all of her clothes and all
No,
her shoes in
I
there.
understand that, and that's what I was trying to make clear, is no one's,
Yeah.
complaining about the building itself. We're not asking that it be removed or anything like that. It is what the intended use is.
Okay.
Simpson Lane as well is not designed for the traffic that we currently get. And the other problem with Simpson Lane is, even though you can get two vehicles wide, when you're not familiar with the road, people fly down through there. And the last several layers of asphalt have been laid on top of layers of asphalt, and that drop-off on the side of that road is pretty rough in a number of places. We have inappropriate traffic out there on Simpson Lane as it is already, with GPSs directing people in RVs and semis to cut through there to get to Fort Boonesboro. I have a question that I don't specifically expect an answer right now, but if the conditional use permit is granted, what other requirements normally demanded of businesses would be placed on this business in terms of parking, lighting, etc.? If you've actually been out to the property and looked, you might pull one car off into the driveway and you run into her gates. And there is no shoulder. You actually have to pull off onto somebody's property if you pull off the road, onto the side of the road. And I understand she's saying there's only a couple of cars at a time, but it's a concern. Let me see.
So one thing the board can do when they grant conditional use permits is that's what they're here for, is to apply restrictions to what is available and what cannot be for this conditional use permit, okay?
Okay. Going back real quick to some of the other businesses that are in our neighborhood, we have folks who operate out of their home as computer programmers, professional type of consultants, cake making. People aren't coming to the home, and it's not like a bake shop set up there. It's
So your concern is traffic flow and people coming in?
Traffic flow and the precedent that it sets.
Okay.
If you start to allow. And I also had one thing I noticed last night that appears to me to be a discrepancy between the land use regs and the information that's in the Board of Adjustments packet.
Uh-huh.
The land use regs say there's supposed to be at least 14-day notice to adjoining property owners for a conditional use permit. The Board of Adjustments packet says a 7-day notice to adjoining property owners. So am I looking at something incorrect, or is that a discrepancy? And I'm looking at page 11, section 302.71.
I don't know.
I have,
One of those is, we have a
We follow the KRS on.
Yeah. So that's-
Application requirements, that could be just to be a typo on the application.
Yeah, that could be.
well, it's spelled out and it's in numbers, so if it's a
If there's
typo.
a notification issue though, it appears that everybody got the notification.
No, I'm not arguing that folks got notification tonight, but it is something that I noticed that, you know.
Roger, but I mean, it was
We
within
can look into
the,
that, it's obviously, everybody.
we've had ample
Words got
time,
out, in
yeah.
other words.
Yeah.
Okay, well, it is something that I would think would need to be addressed. Okay, and one question, do you have any of your own dogs? Okay, how many do you have? You have one, okay. All
Do
right.
you have pets, ma'am?
We did have a pet, and ours, quite frankly, he roamed the neighborhood quite a bit. And when I say that roamed the neighborhood, he walked with people.
Okay, thank you.
He took daily strolls.
All right, so, again, I want to stay on task here. What we're here for is a conditional use permit for a dog walking and pet setting at this location. We've heard people for and we've heard people against. A lot of times people get up here and repeat and say the same thing, okay, for and against. We understand y'all's values this. Is there anybody else that would want to state something that's totally different than what we've already heard? I got one, yes, sir. Please come up, sir, state your name, your residence. You bought it.
My name is Jamie Linkus. I live at 1531 Roberts Hill Drive, which is the property in the top corner that you're currently viewing.
Yes, sir. Do you agree to give truthful and accurate information as it pertains to this case?
I do.
Thank you, sir. Proceed.
I have also recently built a barn, as you can see there, because I have horses, and I also have dogs, as the client here has. There has been a significant inflow of traffic, and as you can pull that picture back out, my house is probably the straightest, safest place for 2 cars to pass on Roberts Hill Drive. My pasture that's not fenced in right there across from that oval driveway has now turned into a freeway. Cars pass through it freely, leaving ruts in it that I have to maintain, and quite frankly, I'm tired of it. That curve right there, as you see, just this past Monday, 2 cars met there, and you heard a loud commotion because one of the cars had to get off the road quickly because they met a car right there in that blind spot. There are cars that come by because I'm a recent widower and I'm walking the neighborhood trying to deal with that. There's at least 4 to 7 cars that drop off dogs daily and pick them up. How do I know that? Their heads are outside the window, and then the car comes back, dog's not in the car. I want to stress Roberts Hill is a dead-end street. It wasn't designed for continuous flow traffic. You got to go down and turn around. Every car that comes to this business goes by my house. They stop my house because they think I might be the place because of my dogs and my horses. No, it's not the case. It's on down the road. On weekends, there's cars with New Jersey license plates, Pennsylvania, New York, Alabama, etc. Hours of operations are continuous. I came back from the gardens 2 weeks ago, and that same curve, I had a white truck meet me. He was not stopping. I had to get off into the property there because he was not stopping with the dog's head outside the window. It was 7:30 at night. Okay, so I'm concerned about, there has been an increased flow of traffic. I have nothing against the lady personally, but when I moved out there 16 years ago on a dead-end street, I did not want a business going in. End of story. So somebody's going to get hurt, whether it's one of our kids, a person that walks the dogs, whatever, or one of her clients. Somebody's going to get hit because that road was not designed for that, and my pasture is now becoming lane 2, and I'm tired of dealing with it.
Okay, thank you, sir. All righty. I see hands coming up, okay? I'm sure everybody's wanting to put in a little bit. Again, I'm gonna try to stay on task here. Does anybody have anything different than what we've already heard? Yes, sir. Come on way up, sir. State your name and residence.
My name's Jerry Shepard, live 1041 Clara Court.
Yes, sir. Do you agree to give truthful and accurate information as it pertains to this case, sir?
To the best of my knowledge, I will.
Thanks, sir.
I'm worried about resale value, houses for sale and everything. Who wants to live next to a kennel? They call it a dog walking or pet sitting. It's a kennel, okay? I don't want to live next to a kennel. I believe it would force me to leave the neighborhood. I believe the property values would go down. I feel sorry that the ladies invested the money in it. Nobody asked me to put a kennel in my neighborhood. I believe my deed says that it's not supposed to be one in there, not supposed to be a business.
Thank you, sir. Yes, ma'am. Please come up. Please state your name and residence, please.
My name is Haley Adams, but I don't live in the area. I'm there every other day, though.
Okay. Do you agree to give truthful and accurate information as it pertains to this case?
Yes, sir.
Okay, please go ahead.
Okay, so I'm there visiting Miss Marlies every day, like, basically, and I've never seen over at least maybe 15 or so dogs there, as they've been said, and then I don't never see any problem of like traffic. I've never had to get off the road. I'm sure that there's people that have because it is a small road. But whenever I'm there with her a lot because she is a woman living by herself and she does feel threatened for her safety because of there's people that's going against her. So I'm there with her a lot so she's not by herself. And I don't really see a problem or how it affects this many other people because every car that comes out onto that street, it does not have to go to her house. You know what I'm saying? Like, just because there's a car with a dog in their window doesn't mean that it's going to Martha's house. They could be going to visit her neighbor. They could be going to visit whoever. They could just be riding through looking. I mean, it don't have to be just for her. And she does not really have that much of an increase because she has the same clients that return every day, like that return multiple times. And it just doesn't seem like it's expanding to me. And she's happy with how it is.
Okay, thank you. Yes, sir.
I got one question. How long has this been in operation?
2014, I believe.
Okay.
2014.
Sir, please state your name and residence.
Keith Walker, 1575 Roberts Hill.
Okay. Do you agree to give truthful and accurate information as it pertains to this case, sir?
Yeah, I'm gonna tell the truth.
Thanks, sir. Proceed.
I live right across, in the closest proximity to her barn.
Okay.
And I have a porch out back, and in the evenings I sit out there. And I have no different footprint. I mean, I don't hear hardly anything. Like I was told, they had a neighborhood meeting, and there was a lot of these people here. Unfortunately, Marlies wasn't invited to, try to work things out or anything, which I don't think that was right. But I have had any issues. I mean, hadn't changed the footprint of where I live, and I'm all for it.
Yes, sir.
She's
Bert, this is the one that lives 221 feet. That's the one that's closest to us.
Where the,
Yeah.
right here.
Yes,
Yes.
that's right.
And you're supporting it, sir? 100%.
yes, sir. I mean, I have more issues with garbage trucks and school buses, not with a dog in a car.
Thanks, sir.
Yes, sir.
All right.
Can you get up and state again the question that you were asked?
There's
Please
a
get it on
lady in the
record.
white shirt that has raised her hand for quite some
Yes,
time
ma'am.
that would like
Yes.
I think we need to answer the board member's question
Question.
on the record before we move on. You want to come back up and, what was your question, Mr. Rogers, about how long they've been in business?
Yes, how long have you been in business?
So she moved in 2016,
2016?
correct?
Okay.
And she was in Fayette County before that.
She was Fayette County.
Fayette.
Yeah.
Doing the
Fayette
same
County.
thing?
Yes.
Okay, okay.
So you just, at this location though, how long?
Just
2016?
It's been 2016. It's been 3 years with no issues, yes.
Okay.
You've never applied for another permit before,
Yeah.
right?
I beg your pardon?
You have never applied before to
No.
a permit?
No.
Would you confirm that nothing was brought to her attention until the announcement of this conditional use permit was placarded up on the property and made notified?
That is correct.
Thank you.
Bert and Marty, did you receive any complaints?
That's actually, we actually had a building permit. We just thought it was for a barn, and then we did get a complaint from one of the neighbors, which led us to go out there and do a little more investigating, and led us to a conversation with the applicant that has led us to this point.
With all that's recent.
But never had any complaints before that.
Before that.
We've
So,
had 2 complaints that I know of. One person's here, and the other one does not live here, is the neighbor.
When you say complaints, though, you mean since the sign's.
since the site.
Since the sign.
They're asking.
Correct.
Yeah, I was asking.
Before.
previous.
Previous, no, I'm
Yeah.
talking about.
So that's,
2016
yeah.
to whenever the building permit.
So that's what I was wanting
That's
to
a building permit,
the
though.
audience and the board to see that until it was publicized, there was no formal complaints filed until then. Correct, Marty?
That's correct.
All right, thank you.
You're welcome.
Okay. Does the board have any more questions?
I would like to say something.
Yes, sir.
I did receive a letter from a lady who owns the house prior to her house.
Mhm.
She is not here, she's in Texas. I think she rents it out, she wrote a letter, that's what I handed out to you.
Okay.
And she kind of disagrees up to a point that at the very bottom sentence, you can see she
Yes.
is opposed to.
I saw that.
Yes.
You know, a reasonable amount of dollars, or what it
Yes.
says.
And we also had an email from Deer Run Stables operator.
Yeah.
This property backs up to Deer Run where they ride their horses.
Mm-hmm.
And they couldn't be here tonight, but they did not have any issue with this,
No issue.
with their horses riding back behind them, so.
Okay. All right.
I don't know if Deer Run Stables is, or obviously it's been in business pre-existing non-conforming for a long
It's a
time.
long time.
It is
not a part of Callaway Creek officially.
Okay.
Guys, you have any more questions?
Here's some of you-
Yes, ma'am. Come, please. Sorry. Please state your name and residence, please.
My name's Laura Mentor, and I live at 2099 River Circle.
Okay, and do you agree to give truthful and accurate information as it pertains to this case?
Yes.
Thank you. Proceed.
I have some questions. I haven't ever had to think about issues like this before, and I live in probably the smallest house in the neighborhood, and it's a cabin, and we have our windows open all the time except in the dead of winter. And I know that if a business had, 10 or 25 dogs next door to me, I would have major problems because dogs bark, and when they're dropped off and they're disoriented, they are going to make noise whether they're in a building or not. And so if permission were given for this business, doesn't that set a precedent? I mean, we are in a there's just one way into our neighborhood, it's self-contained, and when we bought our property out there, we understood from our deed that businesses were not allowed, so we did not have concerns that there would be something like this showing up next door to us. This is not next door to us, but how much water does residential zoning hold if it can just be flipped over because somebody just decides that they want to have a business like that? I mean, if there are properties going up for sale periodically, there's one catty corner from me that already has a large metal building. The sale is going through. Could people apply for a variance like that, within earshot of my house and say, well, you granted this one, what's the problem with granting something like that? So, when you invest in a property, it's the biggest investment that most people make, and you want to know that the character of the neighborhood is going to include some peace and quiet. It's inconvenient to live out there when you live. My husband teaches school in Lexington. People have said these points before, but really, I just want to know, living out there and understanding the character of the neighborhood to be quiet and residential, can this be sort of the thin edge of the wedge for
Where's your,
flipping over to other uses?
What's your address again, ma'am?
2099 River Circle.
Let me take a stab at this right now, just to put maybe to help put your mind at ease a little bit. They're not asking for a zone change. The zoning of the property won't change. And if she ever leaves or sells this property, her permit goes with her.
Right.
And anybody else that would come in there would have to go through this same process. Additionally, anybody else in the neighborhood, we talk about setting precedents, anybody else, it's not going to just be a blanket approval for anybody. Anybody else that would want to do something like this would again have to come before this board and do the same thing that this happens to do. So it's not a zone change. The zoning is going to stay the same. This is just a permit to let her do a specific thing that she's asking. to do.
Okay, so I'm not familiar with
Yeah.
the legal terms.
Yes.
Um,
So you're at 2099.
yes, uh-huh.
The thing
So-
about residential too, just a little light, there's 20, is that 2080? Yeah, is that 2086 across from it, Bert?
I can't read the numbers.
I think
My
that's.
glasses don't work that far.
Yeah, I think it is.
Yeah, it is.
All right, 2086, ma'am, for instance, if 2086, depending on the acreage and stuff like that, wanted to put animals in there, such as pigs, they wouldn't need a conditional use permit to do that.
Well, what if someone came and wanted to do this exact same thing? There's a property that's been sold and the sale is going through, that's within earshot of my house. They have a building approximately this size. They have 9 acres with that property. And, you know, if they wanted to have a variance and do the same thing,
What-
does this set a precedent?
It does not, and it does not also set a precedent that if they wanted to take that building that's right there beside you and start a after-school tutoring session for children and charge people to have their children tutored from 6 to 10 p.m. They use that for that business. Okay, so whatever they choose to do that for within that conditional use permit, they come to us. A lot of times we get carried away, audience, about what the business is because it doesn't affect us. Your husband's a teacher, right? I'm sure you would be ecstatic and you would love it if those people beside you were tutoring kids and helping them in that building beside you. But there still would be traffic flow from parents dropping off and picking up. So we can't.
Actually, I wouldn't be happy to have all that extra traffic in my
Okay.
neighborhood.
Back on. All right, we'll not go there then. All right.
So I just, you know,
To answer your question, everything is handled on a case-by-case basis.
Yes.
There's no blanket approvals for anything.
Yeah.
Anybody that wanted to operate any type of business in a residential zone would have to go through the same process.
okay,
Everything's individual.
Yes, ma'am.
all right, thank you.
Thank you.
I
All
have
right.
a question for the applicant. Do you do you have some sort of, I guess, checklist, or for lack of a better way to express it, like, to make sure that the dog you're accepting has all their vaccination shots and all that up to date?
Yes. Yes, all of that has to be done. You do have,
Yes.
there is a system in place where they have to have all their vaccinations in order, and they sign a waiver as well. I mean, it's all above board.
And I'm assuming that you have some kind of register or roll, so if the dog gets loose, then if somebody finds it, you know, they know where to bring it to, or you're accounting for it, you know, I guess it's kind of like a...
Yes, yeah, they...
You know what I'm saying? So if somebody comes up and says, well,
Right. Yeah.
who owns this dog, then you can identify it. And,
Right. I mean, if they got out, then yes, there is a way that they can be returned back. Again, you know, just to reiterate from before, Marlies does have 16 cameras on these dogs at all times. But to answer your question, yes, she does have a system where she knows which
she
dog.
logs them in.
Correct.
Yeah, okay.
Any other questions, guys? Ladies, any other questions? All right. Thank you, ma'am.
Okay.
All right. All right, I see some more hands. Again, does anybody have something different than what we've already heard? Yes, sir. Come right on up. Please state your name and residence.
My name's Steve Bennett, and I'm at 2099 River Circle, the same house we just looked at also.
All right, sir. Do you agree to give truthful and accurate information as it pertains to this case?
I do.
All right, sir. Please go ahead.
I have 2 points I wanted to make. One is that in our 10 plus years there, I feel like I've seen a change at the intersection of Roberts Hill and River Circle, because we walk it many times and we drive it. Every morning I drive it on my way teaching, as was mentioned earlier. And I feel like, now, I can't, this isn't official data because I don't know for sure every time who the car is that's coming out, but I feel like in the last few years I've noticed more cars that'll come out of Roberts Hill and do not even stop at River Circle. They just keep going. And, you know, it's not that any of us maybe haven't done something like that before. Maybe they can sort of see as they're approaching it to the left, and then when they come up to it, they only have to kind of responsible to see to the right, because they already saw nobody was there. But I'm just saying, more and more I see cars just come up and they don't stop and they just go on. So that is certainly of concern to me. The other thing that just at a gut level, if you've got, you know, sometimes 10 to 15 dogs together, and it's a different mix kind of every day, it's a different mix of dogs, it's pretty hard for me to believe there wouldn't be barking. I don't know how you stop them from barking, you know, but it just seems to me like in our neighborhood, if there's a new neighbor moves in and they have a dog, sometimes there's a lot of barking for a period of time until they adjust, and then it chills out. But a changeable mix of dogs all the time, it's hard for me to imagine there wouldn't be a lot of barking. Obviously, I can't say I'm hearing them from where I live, but just seems like to me.
Thanks, sir.
I have one more question for the applicant.
Yes.
So in terms of people being able to turn around where they drop off and pick up, it's just the homeowner's driveway?
There is her driveway, and then there is, if you continue down the road, there is that cul-de-sac where people can turn around in.
But there's no extra space right there in the homeowner's property where possibly, or could possibly add something where it would make it easier for people to turn around on her property?
There is space to turn around, because I actually do. I
Okay.
go
So-
into a drive and I can back out and I can go. It's
Once
not an
you-
issue.
Once you go up in her drive, is there like multiple places there? Or is it like you get one car up in her drive and everybody else is on the
So
side
they
of the
could
road?
pull up and.
Correct. So
and
there is an
back and-
area from the house to where the barn is. I mean, there is that verge there that
So
you
it's
can.
possible that people who drop their dogs off could pull out straight and just go on their way without going down the street and turning around or something like that?
They wouldn't be able to pull straight out of the driveway because there is a field behind there, and you don't want to encourage that. But there is, you can back up back into the road, or she does have a section in front of, kind of you can see through there in front of that tree line. There is that section.
Right by the mailbox, it's
No.
flat.
Right.
Put some gravel right there. and it-
Correct.
Her driveway has, if you look down it, it's got a big area. There's room for 4 cars because we do it every day. So
That's
they
what I
can
wanted.
back out.
Okay.
All right. Any more questions? All right. Thank you, ma'am.
Okay.
Chris, sorry.
No. Go ahead. Let's-
One more, yes. Ma'am. Yes, ma'am.
Does that work? Can you hear me?
Yes, ma'am. Please state,
Whoa, let's not hit me.
please state your name and residence, please.
My name is Judy Hale Everett. I live at 2043 River Circle.
Do you agree to give truthful and accurate information as it pertains to this case, please?
Yes, sir.
Thank you,
I
ma'am.
do. Based on, there's a couple of things that I feel like have been a little bit inaccurate, is that by her own admission, she usually watches 7 to 10 dogs during the weekdays, and during holidays, there are more than 20. So I think there was time whenever there was an indication that she only had maybe 1 or 2. That also, we have noticed, my husband and I have noticed a significant, or not a significant, but for the last couple of years, we've been wondering why there's such an increase on the section of the road that feeds into, comes up by Roberts Hill and early in the neighborhood. And so I think that may be the answer, but we have been wondering for a couple of years why there's more traffic than normal. And first we thought it was the stables, but it's not. Or when they're not coming, when they're cutting down Roberts Hill, that does indicate that that they're not coming out around to the one thing that I wanted to, it impacts the property values of the homes nearby. Kentucky law does not force a homeowner to disclose being near a kennel during sale, but realtor ethics suggests that a kennel nearby should be disclosed to a potential buyer, and realtors confirm property value is negatively impacted. And it's I think it's under 4 acres, and 25 dogs on 4 acres is just a little bit much to me. The other thing is that I'm a little bit worried about is that the environmental impact for 25 dogs using the bathroom, pooing, and anyway, and it runs off into the creeks. And we are known for our blue line creeks out there and for our pristine. We're one of the few places in the county that we can still get to. And so the environmental impact has not been mentioned, but it does bother me.
And they did state, Marty, it backs up to Deer Run Stables, right?
Yeah.
Okay, I just wanted to make sure.
And
Okay.
that's all I have.
Thank you. All right, there's one more, sir, yes. Yes, sir. Please state your name, residence, sir.
I am Will Weatherford.
There we
Will
go.
Weatherford, you got that?
Yes, sir.
1570 Robert Hill Drive.
All right, sir. Do you agree to give truthful and accurate information as it pertains to this case?
Yes, I do.
Okay, sir, proceed.
First of all, let me say this. I don't like this. When I have a disagreement, and that's pretty rare with somebody, I eventually go to them and talk to them one-on-one. I like to work issues out. I have never complained to somebody about somebody with this many people in the room. I don't like it. I'd really rather not have to do it. I have talked to Marlies one-on-one, and I got a slam door, basically. I'll explain that. Therefore, I'm left to what my county has given me is this opportunity.
Yes,
It
sir.
happens to be public. That's what. So I will comply with that.
Yes, sir.
I'd really rather not do this.
Yes, sir.
So maybe I think there's one thing I need to clarify. It was said that there's no deed restrictions on that property.
That's correct, sir.
Okay.
According to the deed that's in their name, that's correct.
I went to the deed room to get my deed, and there's no deed restrictions on my deed either.
That's right, sir.
You go back to the one before that. You have to keep on going back. And according to the people in the Madison County deed room, they say those inherit from the original deed to the next owner, to the next owner, to the next owner. An attorney has also agreed with me on that. Is that correct?
I'm looking right now at this deed, and this deed is not referencing another deed currently right now.
Well, this is saying, can I come up to you?
Absolutely.
This is talking about this conveyance from Pitcock for tract number 19, Callaway Creek Farms. And so that takes care of that. This is the original deed of conveyance. And this is for tract number 19, the same tract. And it says here that all parties hereto understand and agree that this land is so subject, however, to the following reservations, restrictions, easements, covenants, and conditions. The first item here, no trade or business, excluding farming, however, shall be established or carried on this tract of land without the express written permission of Callaway Creek Farms Incorporated.
So you're agreeing, what you're stating, if I'm not correct, is that every property on this address has this same restriction?
I can't say what they have, but I have looked at mine, I've looked at Keith Walker's. and
Well,
I've
we need to
looked
get you back in front.
Yeah, we need to get you back over
Make
here.
sure we get you on stage.
So,
Okay.
yeah, you just go back to the microphone.
So, I think most of us have the same restriction. I think it's very clear. In fact, I mean, am I wrong?
So, let me take this.
Yes, sir.
We're not attorneys. If you've hired an attorney that's giving you legal advice, that's between you and him. This board can only operate with the information that they're given. And at the end of the day, they don't enforce deed restrictions anyway. That's enforced by a homeowners association. That's why we had questions about if y'all have a homeowners association. Some of them are laid out that individual property owners within the neighborhood can enforce them. This board doesn't do that, my office doesn't do that, but you certainly as a property owner or your homeowners association, if they want to pursue civil action against her, and you can find an attorney that will represent you to do that, then that would be within your rights. But this board's not gonna put a lot of time into researching or trying to interpret, something that a lawyer would need to do.
Okay, your own deed room, 75 feet from here.
It's the county's deed.
The county's deed room, you all work for the county, stated to me, this applies to her property.
Again, that's his opinion or her opinion, whoever.
Well,
But again, even if that's the case, this board is not enforcing deed restrictions.
So,
And that would be all of that Callaway Farms, not just this one residence.
Oh,
It
I
would be the
agree.
entire.
I agree.
Right.
It's a record.
My understanding of this is in
A lot of times deed
2016,
restrictions aren't set.
a canine owner moved into our,
Yeah.
this land, this property, knowing there was a deed restriction. She had to-
Not according to her deed.
Ma'am, I would bet my bottom dollar that that's true.
And we completely understand, Mr. Webb,
Okay.
what we're saying at Tasker, we can't debate that. What you would have to do is get legal representation, because
Okay.
we're not lawyers. And you would have to bring this up in a civil matter is what we're stating. All we can do is grant a conditional use permit, and that's it. We can't debate deeds, restrictions, and stuff like that here. We're not allowed to do that.
Okay, well, she moved in under these conditions. She also moved in, since 2000, there have been zoning restrictions in Madison County. She went against those zoning restrictions. She put a business in a place that was wrong for residents. I checked with, just for another thing, you know, we're talking about conditions. Let's put conditions. Are we willing to put conditions on this business? Conditions have been put. The condition?
We can't hear you.
Is that, I'm sorry.
There you go.
That's fine.
There you go.
First, let me start with the conditions haven't been put because she's asking for that right now.
I understand that.
Okay.
But I'm speaking to the fact that, you know, some conditions have been put and they've been ignored. There was a condition of zoning. It's been ignored. There's a condition of paying county taxes. Been ignored. And I'll tell you how I know that.
Payment of county taxes is not our purview.
Okay, they've been ignored. According to Angel at the Fayette, the financing, I guess what I'm trying to establish here is that there has been conditions. Pay your taxes, go according to the zoning laws, they've been ignored. If you put additional conditions on this business, why should they not be ignored?
And how long have you lived out there, sir?
23 years.
Okay, so you were there before she bought the property?
Long.
Okay, sir. So she's been there since 2016. So in 3 years, you've not filed any civil actions against her yet, correct?
No.
Okay.
I've spoken to her in person.
Thank you, sir. Go ahead.
Let me, maybe I just should talk about that a little bit. Somebody bought the property next door. I don't raise a stink, but I did notice that things started growing, and they kept on growing, and they kept on growing. The grass, the weeds, the trees, right on the other side of the property. I went to Marlies at one point and said, Marlies, could I cut the grass? It's about 30 or 40 feet by 150 feet alongside Robert Hill Road. She said, sure, that'd be fine. I went over and I cut that grass. Took me about a half an hour. I then, I guess, started building the building she's got there, and it piled up, I mean, large stumps. I mean, big things like this, big stumps, big rocks, 2 or 3 or 4 trees. I've got some pictures of it. I'll show you that. I mean, it's 1 foot over the property line, and it's sitting there. I just said, politely, would you be willing to have that moved so we don't have to just look at it? It's an eyesore. Nothing happened. 6 weeks later, a month later, I went back and because I said, hold it, she didn't have any heavy equipment around. Maybe she couldn't move that. I'll wait until she has the heavy equipment. She had a lot of heavy equipment when she was putting the barn in. I waited until it was sitting there. I said, Marlise, you've got this equipment sitting here. I think in about an hour, yes, that would cost you some money. They could pick that up and have it out of the way. Nothing happened. This is just being neighborly. I think that's what you would do, especially when somebody asks you to do something like that.
Did you file any formal complaints with the county, sir?
No, I don't think that should be necessary, sir.
Okay, thank you, sir. We're just trying to stay on task. That's, has to do with the conditional use permit.
Sure.
Go ahead.
Well, this is what you may be putting next door to my property or allowing. I want you to be aware of that. That this is what will be going on there, most likely. So the next time I went to cut a grass, 6 weeks later, again, the first time it was 2.5 feet high. The second time it was that high again. I cut the grass, was just about done. I was going along, and all of a sudden I got slugged in the back hard. And I turned around. I didn't know what in the...
That is a lie.
Oh.
No, there is... That, oh, you did?
All right, sir, did you file a complaint?
We're not doing this.
Did you file a complaint with the police department for assault?
No.
Okay, sir, carry on.
No. But I turned around, and it was Marlise, and I shut off my tractor. I said, Marlise, you gave me permission to cut this grass. And she went like this.
All right, sir, this has nothing, again, you're off task.
No,
this has nothing to do with the conditional use permit.
It has to do with who's going to be next door to my property.
But you didn't complain.
Nothing to do with this permit.
No, it has nothing to do with this permit, sir. You didn't complain when she built the building. You didn't file a complaint. And that's the perception you guys gotta understand. If you don't do something formal, that's why these guys are here. When that building was being built, you could have went to Marty and Bert and said, hey, I'm not happy about this. I want to file a formal complaint. They take formal complaints daily, but not one has been filed since this applicant has lived at this residence. So you're getting up here and getting on tangents and stuff that's not participating, towards this conditional use permit. So we can't be here all night for this. We've got to stay on task. If you have something that's valid and pertaining to the conditional use permit that's going to sway one of the boards to see that it's not, I don't even know what you say at this time. It's got to be on task. I guess that's what I want to say. I understand you have grievances, and I'm feeling that from you, but here's where you messed up, is you haven't made formal complaints.
Well, I shouldn't have to make formal complaints. I should be able to talk to a neighbor and say, would you be neighborly to me? And
I'd
she
like
was
to
not
move
willing.
ahead and make a motion.
All right, sir. Thank you. Thank you, sir. Okay?
I've got more to say.
Sir, it's not relevant toward the conditional use permit. Again, if you have a complaint, please file it with these guys, and they will go and work that. That's what they're there for. Okay? Thank you, sir.
Nobody knew that was the process until this all became, we didn't know there was a process. We knew we had nothing until we saw the sign go up.
All right. Thank you, sir.
It's a good point.
Thank you, sir. All right. You have anything else? All right, if there's no more discussion.
Can I ask a question? If there's a business that's going in your neighborhood,
If you're going to, yes, you're going to come up, ma'am, state your name and residence.
my name's Connie Miller, I live on River Circle.
Okay, ma'am, do you agree to give truthful and accurate information as it pertains to this case?
I do.
Okay,
I just have a question.
Mhm.
Sure. If somebody's gonna have a business in your neighborhood,
yes.
aren't you supposed to know about it if it's zoned residential? Isn't there something that they're supposed to do first before they put that business in?
Again, ma'am, we're here for conditional use permits and variances, so we can't
Because we
debate
didn't even
that.
know about it until this.
Understand, and that's.
Everybody's been complaining about the traffic, and I see it myself.
Did you know she was operating a business?
No, I did not.
Okay.
Okay. And,
But that's what I'm saying. It's
Right.
gonna affect our property values. It affects the environment.
I promise you, it will not lower your property taxes.
It's a proven fact that it does.
Okay? I understand
Raising our
that. I
taxes right
understand.
now. We ought to be up there.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, what was that?
What I want to get at is, again, what we can do here is grant or deny a conditional use permit. That's all we can do here.
How would you like to live?
If the audience, I have, and I've used Kindles before. Thank you. Ma'am, one thing I'd like to just address the audience about is, what you have to understand is, if you guys had, the very first question I had was bylaws of a homeowners association, okay? We are very objective. If you all had bylaws written and in place that you're, about this facility that you're at, that you care so much about now, when you had presented those in writing and been in the court, this would not have been debatable at all, because you would have been able to produce something that when you bought those 25 years ago, that we would have to stick with. But that don't exist, so everybody has opinions, okay? All we can do is look at what the applicant is bringing forward to us. That's all we can do. No matter what you think about their property, what it looks like, where it lays. Because I guarantee you, when Deer Run Stables went in effect, there was nobody in this building protesting Deer Run Stables. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna stay on task, and we're done with the discussion, I think, and we're gonna check and see if there is a motion by the board.
I would like to make one clarification about the homeowners association, if I may, please.
Come up, please.
Oh, that's fine, I wanted to ask questions before I.
Okay, thank you.
Yes, ma'am, please state your name and residence.
Again, Melanie Aldridge, 1051 Clara Court.
Do you agree to give truthful and accurate information as it pertains to this case?
To the best of my knowledge, I do, yes. I just want y'all to understand that our neighborhood, I believe, was established before planning and zoning, and it was, as some people have put it, sort of the Wild West when our neighborhood was established. It was done as a voluntary homeowners association. That doesn't happen much anymore. Getting all homeowners to sign off and make it mandatory is impossible. So when you say we should have bylaws and we should be enforcing that, I do believe that our situation is a little bit different. So I just want to make that clarification, because we only have so much that we can do as a voluntary association. And then there was one other little small, I've forgotten what it was. It wasn't the deed restriction. There was one over, but I can't
I know you
remember.
mentioned this earlier, but can you let the board know how many members are on your board and how many people are on your board?
We have, there's supposed to be, I believe, 8 members of the board. There are currently 6. We've had a couple of people move out and have vacated their positions, and there are 3 to 4 other homeowners in the neighborhood who are members of the association.
And how many homes are in the neighborhood?
I believe there are approximately 60. I know what my other one little point was. We, for the most part, believe in live and let live. We may have seen the building going in, but we have had people build barns for personal use. You don't care about that. It's not the building of the building, so that wouldn't have triggered us making a complaint, okay? That's what I want you to also understand. The building of the building would not have triggered most of us to make a complaint unless there really was a major issue with it. It's what the building is being used for and continued to be.
Thank you very much, ma'am. All right. Do I have a motion?
Yes. First of all, I would like to say I appreciate people coming out and participating in our government and our the process that we have going on here. So that is a plus, and great to see everybody that's active and involved. Based on what I've heard tonight, I have a motion that I would like to make that we approve the conditional use permit for the property located at 1560 Roberts Hill Drive. This conditional use permit will allow the operation of K9 Safari on the property. The hours of operation for drop-off and pickup, Monday through Friday from 8 a.m. to 6 p.m., Saturdays and Sundays from 8 a.m. to noon, again for drop-offs and pickups. Ask that the property owner provide a parking area or graveled area for easy turnaround for drop-offs and pickups in the area that we discussed on the map, so that people who are dropping off their pets won't have to go down the street. not to exceed 15 dogs at a time, and to continue with the plan that includes that pets are logged in, and the plan for all pets to be vaccinated appropriately so that the health is maintained of the pets and the neighbors.
Could-
Did you go like?
Do you want to discuss that?
Yeah. That's a lot of dogs on 4 acres.
Yeah. But now you're talking about if it's a kennel inside. If it's a kennel inside, though, what if there's 20 kennels inside and they're all not going outside at the same time? So you do you want a minimum and a maximum, or do you want?
Yeah, that's what I was thinking.
So you want a minimum of 10 and a maximum of 20, or what do you want? Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
Yeah,
She
no.
owns one. That's what I'm
No,
saying.
I'm
That's
just thinking of max.
maximum.
Yeah, max.
So
You said 15?
yeah, she said her average was 14 to 15. So max 15.
She said 4 to 10, 4 to 10 at any time. And I was thinking 10.
Yeah. Yeah.
I think we have a motion, we either need to second that motion and vote on it, and if you don't like the motion as is, you can vote no, but we have a motion on the floor that we need to act on.
All right. We have a motion. I need a second.
I'll second.
Call roll.
Angie Barnes,
Yes.
Valerie Hines,
Yes.
Jimmy Rogers,
Yes.
Chris Cooper,
Yes.
Ralph Oliver.
Yes. Thank you.
Mr. Chairman, can I propose that we take a 5-minute recess for people to use the restroom?
Please, thank you.
Do we have a motion for a recess? Angie Barnes,
Second.
Valerie Hines,
Yes.
Valerie Hines, Jimmy Rogers,
Yes.
Chris Cooper,
Yes.
Ralph Oliver.
Yes. Well, I was yes, I was worried about that too, but
We're still on the record. We may not have too much discussion. Yes,
Word. That's the word. We're looking for the word. It's called a executive. What's that called? What's that That's what
They'll contact her if there's anything else they need.
How are you doing? How are you?
So are you gonna come out of the house and have supper right now? What kind of neighbor is that?
young. Yeah, you are. Because young.
I haven't felt too young here lately. See y'all later.
Go up. Patty, I'll see you.
Yes, you're gonna come see me where I live. Were you here for the one that we had looked at
I've been with you for 9 hours.
Yeah, I know you don't notice, but I found that about his
I think when we had our senior education, our next meeting I missed.
Yeah,
I missed
they
that.
want us to know that.
That was all,
We all
that was all messed up.
Yeah.
I missed one other, I was in the hospital.
So those are your two.
Maybe 2 or 3. That's been about it. Yeah, all these years.
Yeah.
Was I moved to, I go after one piece, but this one I couldn't find. There's 2 lanes. Go straight up like that. They connect, but there's no road sign. And here I was running too close. It was 5 o'clock. So I can't. So anyway, when I went up to the end of the road, traffic was backed up going to the main highway. So I went across, went down River Red House, came back around. But it was backed up. So I was kind of having a problem. But I like it. I like my Bitsy house. She and I went today. Believe it, good job on this. It's all way. You're not supposed to. We have to do it all the time. They have big monitor. They got some medium, but these folks do all good job.
Salad or something out there for me. I don't think I would be so hungry.
We got one. You're doing, you're gonna exceed your 8 o'clock, aren't you?
I was like, if I can eat before
So you get 12 hours, you're doing 8 to 8?
I do 18 hours.
Do you really?
I do, and on Monday I do 24 every Monday.
But when, so before you run, you just clocking up a little bit?
I do low carb 2 days a week, and then I do, like at my fitness pal, I just have my carbs and I stay with that the rest of the week. Like today was the first day I had my carbs, so I had over for lunch. It took my like 3 weeks for my body to adjust because my running partner and I do 8 miles a Saturday, and their first run, like 3 miles a week. I just had a, like, I couldn't even, like, I usually just go away, but I couldn't.
You turn it on? He's working on something, she got something.
Oh,
Yeah, he said that he can do it with these things. I wish I was telling him.
I'm eating just like whole foods, grass-fed, pasture-raised.
Oh, people tend to want stuff.
I do.
Valerie,
I do.
you know what a grass-fed cow is? Every cow in Madison County is a grass-fed cow.
Yeah, well, if I'm still in the farm, I'm better about it.
Mine's in the truck. I don't care anything.
Oh,
I go this one.
Yeah. Well, I'm right there with it.
Mine don't, I don't need no phone. My stomach goes.
So, they're asking about it.
They can file it.
I
Bert,
wouldn't
yeah.
give them legal advice. I would refer them to
Bert.
Marty.
Or just, if you could call one of them at their office, so can you,
No, they're gonna call me.
well, if you're
You all are our employees.
Well, I think if you call them and tell them specifically what you want, so they'll remember appropriately what it is, they can give you their full attention. When you call them instead of right now, they're probably
We're going to start the meeting back soon.
Okay.
Oh, okay. Can you just give me the card?
I don't have one.
Here, I'll give you a number.
Jimmy, something comes up on Simpson Lane.
Madison County Planning.
Smiling like.
Chris, you ready to get started? We need to get going. Chris, you ready to get started? We need to get going.
We'll tell you what we can do. Okay? All right, thank you for coming.
Mr. Chairman, do we have a motion to come out of executive session?
Can I get a motion to come out of recess?
Oh, I said executive session.
Yes.
We had it at a.
We have a motion. Do we have a second?
Second.
Call the roll, please.
Angie Barnes,
Yes.
Valerie Hines,
Yes.
Jimmy Rogers.
Yes.
Chris Cooper.
Yes.
Ralph Hall.
Yes. All right, last but not least up on the agenda, we have a conditional use permit for 8682 Battlefield Memorial Highway. Do we have somebody here?
Yep.
All right, please state your name and residence, please.
My name is Jennifer Rose Escobar, and I live at 8682 Battlefield Memorial Highway.
Okay, do you agree to give truthful and accurate information as it pertains to this case?
Yes, I do.
Thank you. Please proceed.
And yes, I both know how to operate this, and I give my word that it'll be true. Bert and Marty told me to make a PowerPoint, so that's what I've done. Y'all may never ask me to make a PowerPoint again.
Can y'all see that right there?
Yeah, it looks pretty good there.
Good.
Thank you for the opportunity to appear this evening. I hope this presentation will both inform you about what we're trying to do at Happiness Hills and address the specific issues you might have questions about. Please feel free to stop me at any time if you need clarification. I do not intend to open a kennel. You can see by this brief timeline that our project has developed little by little, starting with a pretty simple idea and then growing to what we have today. Some of y'all may have even been to the farm for an event or two. The transition of ownership from my father to me has taken a few years, and this step tonight that we're taking is an important part of that, I think. You're probably familiar with Airbnb and small events, but you might not be as familiar with the idea of a folk school, so I've prepared 3 slides to let you know what that is. One of the things that makes a folk school different from our regular concept of school is that folk schools are not accredited in any way. They're community-based, and learners don't receive any kind of credential when they complete a class. Classes are short-term, weekend, week-long. Another way they're different is that participants and instructors learn together, they eat together, often by preparing meals together, and generally stay in rooms on the same property for a true community learning experience. And here's additional information just for your benefit. Marty says this is a very Berea thing.
Jennifer, what would your hours of operation be with these classes? Would it be on a regular schedule or would it vary?
So the classes are generally weekend or week-long, and people stay on site.
Mhm.
So if a class started on a Friday night, then we'd start with campfire and a potluck dinner on Friday night. People would arrive then and stay there until Sunday evening, or come in on Sunday evening and stay for the week, leave on Friday afternoon. It would vary depending on what we were focusing on. Some things are one day, it's not a preference, but then they would arrive in the morning and leave in the evening.
So you're
So it's
saying
gonna
you're gonna be
vary.
open, you're gonna be open 7 days a week?
Yes.
Okay. And the earliest you would begin doing any of this would be around what time during that day? What would be the
Because
earliest?
people are gonna stay on
Stay,
site.
yes, yes.
Yeah.
So,
And I did make a slide about some of those things.
okay.
There you go.
Okay.
Also, in terms of the Airbnb and events, those operational hours are also variable, depending on what people.
Basically by appointment.
It is.
Everybody schedule an appointment going through you.
Absolutely.
Okay.
It is totally by appointment only, but those appointments will vary.
Mhm. Perfect.
Do you have any questions about any of that?
So it says, parking beside each house. How many houses are there on the property?
There is a barn, there's a cottage, and a guest house.
Jeff, let me show them the area over it.
Yeah, you should have. I also have that on here.
Okay.
Yeah.
Very good.
I wasn't sure. So there's all
And now I'm figuring out how to get back.
Besides the entrance.
The back arrow? Okay.
So the size.
Side is the
There is a
entrance.
sign right there, yeah.
What size?
Happiness, it's not.
That's not.
Yeah, that
Okay.
looks.
It's been there for.
It's been there for years.
Yeah.
That's just a farm sign, right?
It's
Kind of Happiness Hill
pre-existing.
Farm.
Gotcha.
Yeah, it's pre-existing non-conforming.
So what's happened here,
That
I
shows
don't mean
it
to,
better
I don't mean to
than
jump
what's
in on you here. but
Hey,
this-
no, Bert, you're fine.
This has kind of morphed into what it is over many years.
Yeah.
15 years probably. It started with, Marty and I's first involvement was the Hill House, and then the Harmony Center, and then the Escobars built their house, and it's just kind of a victim of its own success, so to speak.
Yeah.
And it's time to get everything right with requirements and permits and that kind of thing.
Yes.
Because they obviously want to be successful and they want to continue to grow their product down there, and that's what's got us to this point. So they've been in business for some time.
Mhm.
Again, we've not ever, I think, since I've been here, we've not had any complaints about anything that goes on down there.
Have we had any phone calls since this morning?
Somebody inquiring,
Inquiring about what
and they
they're
said,
doing.
well, they've been doing that for years now.
But where y'all been?
Is the application for the folk school or for everything that's going on
I
there?
think we should probably just make it encompassing for everything.
I'm hoping
that
it's
she wants to
inclusive.
do down
So we want it for,
there. Does it specifically say what?
So,
I think C attached.
yeah,
Probably covers folk school, it covers all of it.
Happiness Hills Farm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So we're gonna, yeah. Go with that.
I did a summary screen too. My family's back there going, you overachiever. One of the things that started this conversation is that we'd like to, in the interest of, you know, having the Airbnb actually succeed, and pay for itself, and being able to do the folk school is needing a little bit of additional lodging space. We do not want this to become bigger than we can manage, but we do need to be able to house a few more people in order to populate the kind of classes that we'd like to do at the folk school. So we looked into these little cabins that are very cute and easy to set up, and they do have their building number from Frankfurt, and so we'd like to put a couple of those up on the property, and they would be in that blank space with the yellow circle. So right there. I have talked to Barry Jackson about where septic might go for those things, and he seems to feel that that is not going to be a problem, and just wants to do a site visit to decide if we can hook into one of the existing systems or if we need to build a new system. He feels like it's going to be fine.
He's with the health department.
But that's something we'll deal with when we start issuing permits and that kind of thing for this.
Okay.
Yeah.
If you all approve.
Yeah, so we totally recognize this is outside of the purview of this particular board, but I wanted to be transparent about what we'd like to do next, because we do need some additional buildings in order to do what we want to do pursuant to this conditional use permit.
How many people do you usually have? Maybe at
So for events at the farm in the past, we say we max out at 100 people, and we can park more than that number in the front field there along 421. You see where the tree line is? There's kind of this
Right.
mowed section. Conveniently, that section was mowed when this aerial photo was taken. So that's we park cars on our side of the property, the south side of that driveway there, and we can easily get 75 cars there. We've never had to. We don't like to have more than 100 people on site at any time. It's just too many. And for classes at folk schools generally work best in small numbers, like 10 to 20.
Okay.
I wouldn't want to absolutely limit it to that, but that's how it works best, and that's certainly what we want to do. Learning and community needs a smaller group to really work. So here's my summary. Don't look at me like that.
Ask any questions? Thank you, ma'am. All righty.
Of course.
If there's no discussion, I need a motion.
I'll make a motion that we approve the conditional use permit for the property located at 8682 Battlefield Memorial Highway. This conditional use permit will allow the operation of Happiness Hills Farm, which shall include but not be limited to the following: Airbnb and community gatherings and a folk school, where community based learning experiences take place. The hours of operation will be 7 days a week, as classes and events and visitors are scheduled and will vary.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Call the roll.
Angie Barnes,
Yes.
Valerie Hines.
Yes.
Chris Cooper,
Yes.
Jimmy Rogers.
Yes.
Ralph Oliver.
Yes. All right, we don't have
Thank you all.
we don't have any more new business. I move to adjourn.
Second.
Andy Barnes.
Yes.
Valerie Hines.
Yes.
Ralph Oliver.
Yes.
Jimmy Rogers.
Yeah, boy.
Cooper.
Yes.
Yep.
Good, good. Ladies.
Third.
Yeah, I need that.
Marty had to go.
And send it back down.
Objection.
Oh. know is I heard
Oh, we've been.
Christmas.
Oh.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, that's right.
I got to watch it live on TV. Wow, you did a great job.
May get to see another room. Maybe you'll see another room.
Hey, yeah.
I've heard.
Next time it's gonna be on Fox News.